Good evening and thank you for joining us. A new proposal for an indoor turf facility was presented to Thunder Bay City Council last night. Officials with Soccer Northwest say it's a cheaper option that still meets user needs. The group also held a rally outside City Hall to drum up support. Council now says it wants to hear more about the proposal. Vasilios Bellows reports.
Soccer Northwest's deputation, led by their president Michael Veneziali, laid out their new plan for the indoor turf facility, sparking a discussion that saw every councillor get involved. Just before the meeting, though, a significant turnout in support of the proposal. Around 80 soccer enthusiasts and members of other potential user groups gathered out front of City Hall to show their support for Soccer Northwest's newest pitch for the indoor turf facility. The group is recommending a hangar-style building next to the community auditorium they believe will check all the important boxes, while costing less than $20 million. After a lengthy discussion, Councillor Trevor Gertuga put forward a motion that Council supported, meaning a report regarding Soccer Northwest concept will come to the March 13th Council meeting. Ken Boshkov was in favor of this, hoping to fast-track a decision, saying he'd love to have shovels in the ground by the end of the summer.
Considering how long this issue has been debated, we should be ready to go tomorrow. I don't want to lose another crop of youngins who lose interest in possibly playing soccer because they do something else or just don't do anything. And that worries me more.
Manager of Community Services Kelly Robertson said, more realistically, construction wouldn't happen until 2024, with the facility being ready for the 2025 season based on the amount of planning and assessment required. City Manager Norm Gale agreed there is a heavy workload that comes with this, stressing the March 13th report most likely will not have all the information Council is looking for.
We need to do this work in the space of, after Christmas, 4-5 weeks. During a grueling budget process, I will tell you, though, that we will not be able to give you a wholesome report in March. You will not get the information that I think you seek because we simply will not be able to do it.
Fortunately and unfortunately, we've been doing this for 7 years. I had another 6 or 7 pages of information that I could have gone over with them and answered at hand. What I'm hoping comes from this is there's a lot more information that we can provide to administration, that can provide to council, that should shave a lot of time. The goal of all of this wasn't only to provide this information, but to bring back things so they don't have to do it again.
To prepare the March report, administration will conduct public consultation, site and environmental impact assessments, and consider the impact of displacing softball and baseball groups currently using the ball diamond at the proposed site. Vasilios Bellows, TBT News.
Also during last night's meeting, Council unanimously approved a new arm's-length relationship with the community auditorium, allowing it to operate more independently from the city. But the city will now provide up to $2 million to cover the facility's accumulated deficit and another $1.6 million in loans and capital funding over the next 4 years. The funding is meant to help ease the transition, which begins in the new year. The facility will now be run like other nonprofit organizations like Magnus Theatre or the Art Gallery. Auditorium General Manager Trevor Hertig believes this move is beneficial for all parties and helps to clarify the organization's identity.
It was kind of tricky in the sense that we were kind of following as many city protocols as we could, at the same time doing things different like a nonprofit would run their business. And it just was kind of murky as to where the lines drew and where they lay. And like I say, moving forward, this allows us to know exactly who we are, what we do, and move forward in the best way possible for the organization, and I think also for the city.
Hertig says this new deal could also help the auditorium make the financial headway that's needed in order to take some risks on major events like the Thunder Bay Blues Festival. The auditorium will continue to receive about $750,000 annually through the city's Community, Youth and Cultural Funding Program. The Canadian Forces Snowbirds will be in Thunder Bay next year to help kick off the summer season. The last time the world-famous aerobatics team performed in the city was in May of 2020 during Operation Inspiration. That cross-Canada tour was held to recognize essential workers for their vital role during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. A spokesperson for the Snowbirds says they'll be here on June 3rd and 4th for a pair of 30-minute shows over the local harbor. The 2023 schedule was released today and shows Thunder Bay as the first stop on a tour that includes 21 Canadian cities and 2 American stops. The Jets are expected to arrive in the city on June 1st for a practice the next day. The Transportation Safety Board has released its final report into a railway collision 2 years ago near Hornpain. The CN freight train crashed into a high-rail vehicle parked on the tracks at the Jackfish turnout switch in November of 2020. The pickup truck, which was fitted with rail wheels, was destroyed. Fortunately, the employee was outside the vehicle when it happened, and the train didn't derail as a result of the collision. The TSB investigator determined the signal maintainer driving the high-rail vehicle failed to understand the safe zone for his track occupancy permit. It was his first time working alone, and the TSB says that inexperience was likely a factor in the crash. Since that incident, CN Rail has developed software that uses the high-rail vehicle's GPS location to provide audible alerts within the cab as it approaches the limits of where it can be safely parked. Turning to Queen's Park now, where we learned more about the impact and cost of climate change. It comes in a report from the province's Financial Accountability Office. Siobhan Morris reports.
With our planet warming, it's a scene we risk seeing more and more often, with the frequency of intense rain expected to rise.
I think people generally take for granted linear storm and wastewater infrastructure, really until it doesn't work.
Ontario's Financial Accountability Officer explains the price tag to keep those systems in good condition mostly falls to the province. It's a matter of pay up front or pay later.
So by proactively adapting linear storm and wastewater infrastructure to withstand the more extreme rainfall, we know it'll add between about $71 billion by the year 2100.
That's if emissions don't spike. The gap between being proactive and doing nothing doesn't look huge. It's $17 billion. But Weltman says the chart doesn't tell the whole story.
When you don't adapt your infrastructure, then you leave it vulnerable to things like overland flooding as a result of the infrastructure not being able to get the water out of there.
His office didn't look at what the damage might be to homes or businesses from that kind of flooding.
That will be significant.
The FAO only looked at the cost to maintain or upgrade existing infrastructure, not what might be added as our population grows.
I think the way to look at this is a very conservative estimate.
With a higher cost, especially if new infrastructure isn't built with climate change in mind.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The Ontario government announced a major upgrade today to Orange Air Ambulance's fixed-wing fleet of aircraft.
These are the people that save lives in areas that we can't even get to. They're always there. They'll do anything to make sure the people of Ontario are safe.
Orange will replace its aging fleet of aircraft with 8 new state-of-the-art planes. Orange provides a range of air ambulance services throughout the province and is especially important in the rural, remote areas of northwestern Ontario. The DEC Foundation and its volunteers are doing something special this holiday season for those recovering from addiction. The group has put together Christmas gift bags filled with items to help support those who are struggling. The United Way offered its space as about 20 people brought items in and helped pack up the gift bags. They'll be dropped off at Crossroads, Pace, 3Cs, Delico Post, and the Lodge on Dawson. Each gift bag contains clothing, toiletries, snacks, and more, and is specially tailored for men or women. Carolyn Carl, who created the DEC Foundation in honor of her late daughter Dana, says they wanted to make sure they had a little something for everyone.
And hats and chocolates and movie gift cards and lots of things that'll make a person feel very special and loved Christmas morning, and that was what we wanted to achieve, just for people to feel like they're not forgotten and they're cared about.
As a person in recovery, one of the hardest times for me was over the holidays, and I did spend Christmas in a facility, and receiving a gift, no matter how big or how small, can be one of the most important things that can happen to you because it lets you know that people see you.
And the bags will be delivered in time for Christmas. Local theatergoers are in for a treat this holiday season. For the first time since joining Magnus Theatre in 2016, artistic director Tom Curry is showing off his acting chops in this year's production of Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol. Kurt Black has the details.
Scrooge? I have to redeem old Scrooge? That's not possible. He's the one man I knew that was worse than I was.
For the second straight holiday season, Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol, the retelling of Charles Dickens' classic tale, is back at Magnus Theatre. Just this time with a few added surprises that executive director Alexis Rowlandson is confident will keep audiences captivated from the opening scene to the finale, whether they saw the production last December or not.
Unfortunately, a lot of people who wanted to see this great production weren't able to, so we were really excited to bring it back in a brand new staging and with a new artist. This is Tom's Magnus Theatre stage debut, which is really exciting. And a lot of people who saw it last year and are seeing it this year are finding it really fun to compare the differences.
Yes, you heard that right. For the first time in his 6-year-long tenure as artistic director, Tom Curry will be stepping under the bright lights at Magnus Theatre to take on the daunting task of bringing all 16 characters of the one-man show to life.
I shall catch my death. No, well. We gotta start over. You see?
Well, I didn't really know till about a month ago. This was kind of a last minute thing. And yeah, it's nerve wracking also because this is a one person show. So it's just me out there with no safety net. So every show will be a little bit different because, I have to kind of, stay on my game the whole time.
And while this may not have been how Curry originally envisioned how this year's production would come together, he admits it's been a rewarding experience getting to unpackage each and every character the heartwarming tale of redemption.
I enjoy just exploring the different characters and making the switch really quickly, finding all their voices, finding all their different attitudes, so that what I love is when the audience recognizes the character without me having to speak. They'll know all of a sudden if I kind of go like this that I'm now Scrooge, and they love that. And that's something that I love doing as well.
And if you've yet to make it down to Magnus Theatre for a showing, no need for any bahumbugs, as Jacob Marley's Christmas Carol will continue to run right up to Christmas Eve. Kurt Black, TBT News.